All right, best of 3 for the IEM Qualifiers Korean server. In the bottom left as the Blue Zergades Rogue. In the top right as the Red Protoss, it is Astrea. Residing in Korea for the last 4 months, except for a time back maybe to visit parents and family for holidays. But he has been back in Korea for maybe like almost a month at this point. He was in Korea for this replay, is what I'm trying to say. As well as for the Lima League that I cast yesterday, where he played very, very well. Very well. I won't spoil what happened just in case you want to go back and watch that, but you should definitely check out Astrea's PVZ, which is also what we're doing right here, right now. And versus quite a Titan Rogue. Cast him yesterday going up against Innovation. He's just generally a very good player. It's really good to see how well it does for Wardy's stream. Yeah, Wardy's been killing it. I'm really glad to see him positive, you know? I'm not on any hate train or anything like that, where you can be like a negative Nancy. I know everyone has bad days, but it's just really cool to see, you know, positivity all the time. It's unrealistic, of course, but ride it as long as it can last, right? You can't studio audience noises. Oh my god, why don't I do that, Cuddle Bunny? Shit, that's a good idea. To put in like fake audience stuff while I'm casting games. Genius, Cuddle Bunny, genius. I'm gonna write that down. Cast audience. I don't know what that means, it's fine. Alright, so Astrea was showing some unique things about PVZ that I'm going to also hone in on, assuming he does it in these replays as well. These are not just casts, but also a bit of studying as well. So I'll be paying some more attention, slowing things down, looking back on fights, that type of stuff. And just enjoying some good old StarCraft. Shockingly, as in not shockingly, I like casting more than I like playing. If I liked playing more than I like casting, then I would have given pro gaming a real go, which I really didn't. You know, there was always that thought of like, man, maybe I can be good enough to actually like, you know, compete. But that was actually quickly dashed from me because I just didn't have the wrists. That was when StarCraft 2 came out. I was already experiencing RSI, or at the time, a misdiagnosis of carpal tunnel. It wasn't that actually. It was RSI, and it wasn't helpful going to physical therapist for my hands. Eventually, it got fixed and all that, but yeah, there was no way I was going to be able to play more than a certain amount of games per day. And if I'm honest, I just don't really like to. Occasionally, you all see me play stream, and then I'll lose like 5 games in a row, and yet that will make me want to play more, play endlessly, despite how bad it is. Oh, the depth's very bold. But yeah, I just don't like really playing. I used to play like 2 hours of StarCraft every other day. And that was pretty okay for me. But anyways, I like casting so much more. I think I'm better at it too. So I always like getting the opportunity to cast some games. And when an IEM replay pack comes out, I mean, that's just the perfect opportunity to do so, right? And then easy transition over into my YouTube, which I really suggest you guys to check out. I got some original content up there, but also some content you might have missed from my Twitch stream. YouTube.com/ZombieGrub. Just a little shill right there. So anyways, adepts are very bold. That one adept in the main was maybe a mistake, because there's almost no reason to do that. Maybe he was just, you know, he was double checking, and it's kind of the safest way to do the adept is to put it in the middle, because lings hopefully won't catch it, and queens have to walk their booties over to catch it. But generally, unless you get into a mineral crack, you know, you're not actually looking to do anything with the adept, really. So Astrea did a lot of adept into Stargate, which he does here too. This time, though, actually adding on a stalker, which is not what he was doing. He also goes for a faster third base, one of the fastest you can really get, and actually delays his gases over here. So we're not seeing a quick transition follow-up into Twilight Council Forge Robo. Generally, when it comes to Stargate, it's either 330 gases or 330 Nexus, I guess, is actually what it comes down to. Hey, y'all. Do you think his faster third was in response to Rogue's faster third? Hard to say. I don't think so. Rogue did get a fast third, but it's not like he got it before pool. It might just be. He also might, you know, it's a gamble no matter what actually I think you see. Unless you see, like, non-stop drones, which is impossible to see because, you know, you don't have map packs. So now he sees, like, a very healthy drone at the third base, and he knows he made the right call. But, you know, say that he didn't drone the third base very much. Rogue could have made 30 lings to try to attack, but I think it's just a bit of a gamble. Gamble gobble. And it worked out, paid off. It also doesn't have, I guess, as quick as a follow-up in terms of these technology, so we're not looking at a potentially swift, you know, 2 immortal sentry push out, you slap down some Blackcrafts behind that, which can be a thing. He is just going hardcore macro, and it seems that hardcore macro is also leading into new development, double robo instead of just a single robo. Astrea has been very good about scouting the back corners of Zerg bases, something I think is just generally good and everyone should pretty much do. He's already been kind of countered once with that. I think it was actually Ragnarok who put a Spire in like the middle here because he noticed perhaps that he was doing that. Or just, you know, it's usually the ends that the Oracles or the Phoenix will go to, or maybe behind here, but usually the middle's not scouted because you assume that's where the units are. So it's also just a good place to put your technology as a Zerg player. A little vulnerable if it's a push, but if it's not, then more power to ya. Charge +1 on the way, double Immortal coming out of there. There was perhaps a chance a Robotics would have been thrown down, but I was definitely expecting Immortal. Oh, well, there it is. Not immediately, but there it is. So into Disrupt there. Astrea perhaps worried that Rogue could go into some Lurkers, which he certainly can. It is, so far, a Hydra build, at least partially. Roaches are on the way as well. Not Ling Baneling. But Hydras with Roaches, yeah, I'd say 9 times out of 10 leads into the Lurker Den. If it's with Lings and Banelings, that's when you're more concerned about a push. An all-in. And into something else other than Lurkers, I suppose. But with this composition, yep, definitely switch with Lurker Den. Maybe Astrea is too, and it seems like Astrea's choice against Lurkers has been Disruptors. According to his own words, and evaluation from the in-depth episodes he's been on. Gamble gobble. So Disruptor's not going to be on the bucket list, actually. Maybe it's on the bucket list, but it's not on the list right now. It's on the to-do list. It is Colossus first, which I actually don't really like against Lurkers that much, even before the Lurkers became what they are. The Lurkers now have that faster burrow, and they have an extra range when you upgrade them on that hive, which is certainly what Rogue is going to be looking for. Even before that, I didn't really like Colossus. They don't really, like, Lurkers are kind of chonky. If they're left alone, they'll die, but usually because you have things that directly, like, quote-unquote, counter them. You have Immortals busting through their carapace. Colossus, like, even if they find Lurkers alone, they take quite a few shots to actually kill the Lurkers. But there's no arguing that they'll provide consistent DPS from a safe backline standpoint. They will help clear out that Hydra line, less so on the Roaches, and it is just damage. It's just splash damage. That's always good to have. And it is far more reliable than Disruptors. Adding on that Blink as well and actually going for a push. 10 Lurkers will be waiting, though. And now they won't have their upgrades, but that's still a pretty damn good number to hold against most pushes. It just gets kind of extremely good to hold with if you get those upgrades. Another expansion and a macro hatchery here from Rogue. Didn't think he would need a macro hatchery, but I guess he does. Oracle does see most of the Lurkers. That's not all of them, though. Roach is also on the left side. Instant cancel. Astrea was paying attention. I could have sworn I did my math correctly. There is 10, but just somewhere else. There they are. There's their swoopity booties. I like the mechanical skin on them. Lurker range is the first thing you always want to get. That much has been true since basically they released the upgrade into play. Burrow speed is awesome, but okay, whoa, okay, what the hell? What just happened? Oh, Astrea went to the back lines to try and deal with the Roaches, thinking that he brought his entire army with him. And instead, his units had been AI'd to attacking units and got stuck. Oh, no. Well, that's not good. He's totally prepared to take an attack. He sees units from the backside, and I think he chooses to chase after him and then doesn't realize, yeah, that's what's happening. This is his vision right now. Only just now realizing that he was attacked. Pounced upon there. I mean, not even really. His units just, like, they're derps. His units just stayed still and even walked a bit into the army. That is a big loss of some important units, but not the loss of his entire army, so Astrea still going to continue on here, but with the loss of those units plus his no fourth base, he just stopped attempting at a fourth base. Things will really bad for him. Disruptors do two-shot lurkers, but once the lurkers have burrow speed, he can try and dodge them out, and actual engagement goes down as the blink stalkers jump forward. I think that was just a misclick there on the Void Ring hallucination. Kind of funny, though. So a couple lurkers already killed by those disruptors. Not a bad start. Ling's also not providing a buffer they might have if Colossus weren't around. So again, giving some credit to the Colossus choice. If Vipers do come into play, and I do believe we saw some Vipers, then Colossus will be dead in an instant. They'll be yoinked, and that's it. They're goners. I feel like Rogue is doing perfectly fine, even though Astrea is still continuing to hang out here. I think that actually might be a miscall. Again, especially because he doesn't have a fourth base on the way. And this could be his fourth base. Like, if he's thinking I'm not going to be able to do anything on the left side, then he could try something on the right side. It's not going to happen. Disruptor's going to get one last shot. Tries to go for the Lings, goes for the Hydras, misses the Hydras anyways, as it's yoinked. All Disruptors yoinked. Colossus yoinked. Second last Disruptor yoinked. And that is it for all of those Robo units. Viper's very strong against anything that's powerful in small numbers, right? GG. I don't think Astrea was, like, meaning to dedicate there. It's actually, I would like to, you know, if I could ask him what exactly his thought process was, I would like to. Because, I mean, clearly he wanted to get a fourth. That didn't happen. But instead of trying to clear it up to get a fourth and play a macro game, he committed to the attack. Maybe he did truly mean to commit 400 extra minerals at that point. Sometimes, you know, just kind of throw it down. Just cause. But then, he also lost, like, what? A fourth of his army? Fifth of his army? And I guess that kind of ruined any plans. I guess it would have looked better to commit to that attack if he hadn't lost those units. But I'm just sitting there like, well, you didn't get a fourth. It took forever for you to actually push. And it didn't look super convincing. So what was your plan? And I'm guessing that was the plan. It was just to actually hit something a little bit stronger with all of your units instead of just some of your units. Oh well. Astrea gets to tackle Rogue once again here. Rogue in the bottom right, Astrea in the top left. Rogue is actually the first time that I've seen lurkers against Astrea, despite having some knowledge of what he talks about. Just because Solar, who he faced in the Lima League, did not end up ever going for lurkers. There's a lot of Roach Ravager all-ins. And Swarm Hosts. Yeah, Swarm Host. Which, Swarm Host. Gross. Do you think the complete disappearance of Archon drops is justified by the Prism nerf? No, but I also don't think there's been a complete disappearance. You do occasionally see it, and I also don't think it was... I don't think it was mostly because of the War Prism. Maybe, like, War Prism was, like, 20 or 30% of it, but I think it was already being phased out. Zerg players were finding ways to immediately counter it. Either they held perfectly, which is bad, no damage taken, or they were doing sneaky, like, kind of early pushes where the Archon drop would be like, I'm doing Archon drop, and then they'd be Roach on the front line and be like, oh no. Or a bit later with the pushes, but still effective. But yeah, it's definitely not out of the Protoss playbook entirely. Good night, Jobu. Just wonder if they're less prepared trying to jump to Hydras quickly. Well, there's always going to be that. There's always going to be a little bit of X beat B, so we went C, and then B beat C, or A beat C, and then whatever. Like, you go for fast Hydras to try and Ling Hydra to try and go for the Warp Prism immediately. it's actually going to be one of those tricky, like, charge lot Archon things, and so they massacre you. You try and go safe for roaches to play safely against the Archon drop. There's actually some extreme greed behind it, something like that. You try and go for Ling defense only, and you mess up, you slip up. They commit more, they do double Warp Prism, double Archon drop type stuff, like... Or it's not even an Archon drop, and they actually are going for an Immortal all in, and you misread the situation, like, that type of stuff. Always exists, that's why metas come and go. Not just because there's nerfs and different maps, but just because it's in meta to do something. Out of meta to do something. The reason I did it was because it was out of meta, and I knew it would trick him, like, you know, so on and so forth. So it makes it a constantly interesting game. But changes of maps and nerfs and buffs obviously do change things a lot, too. This time going up to that third adept, which is what I'm more used to seeing from him. I'm wondering about that stalker choice. You know, last game it for a really fast third. This game it's the 330 double gas, which is more expected as a follow-up. It's only getting the second gateway so far. Gonna complete that wall. Perhaps that is a difference. He goes for a stalker with a third nexus. Adept with double gas. Is that because he's going to do an adept attack with double oracle? Just thinking out loud here. Why stalker instead of a third adept? I guess you can... Well, okay. Actually, there might be a simple explanation for that. You can afford the stalker instead of an adept. If you're not going to add on all the technology right now. This is usually the combination of units, structures rather. You would see... Now, with the fourth... No, is that the fourth? Yeah, with the 4 gateways in total, I'm expecting a follow-up Archon drop instead of 2 or just 3, which this still, you know, obviously still exists. Maybe not. Starts up charge then. Just kind of to be determined. There we go. All right, I was gonna say. Almost what it always goes into. You also don't get... I said Twilight Council Forge Robo. Obviously, he delayed the Forge a little bit to do this, but that's what you get. If you don't go for the Archon drop, then you immediately get Twilight Council Forge with the Robo. Usually not natural, too, from what I've seen. So he is going to go for an Adept potential Harass. He didn't go for second Oracle. My bad, I thought the first one was the second one. But still, some Adept harassment. Adept. And the third Nexus will come down eventually. Very light on the Adept harassment, actually. Kind of more cautious. Like, Adepts might, you know, get across the map and sneak up a couple drones, but they're caught in the middle of the map by the Lings. Haha! Sick. Whoa, what? What? Wait a minute. Hold on here. What was that? What was that? Clarko's not as fast as Adepts. Maybe a concern. Oh, it's because it's a thing. Oh, I've never considered that. Oh my god, that flipped me out, man. I thought somehow the Phoenix had like dropped it over here, but the Adept Shade finished. That was so well timed. All right then. All right. Wait a minute. No, I want to watch that again. Does that happen if you don't cancel the Phoenix? Lift off? Is the timing just perfect there? Hold up. I can't tell if he canceled the Phoenix or not to let that happen. Does an Adept Shade get out of Phoenix pickup? I've seen the Phoenix to save a unit before, but... I don't have the default profile on, so I can't see what he's clicking on. No. Well, it's still possible he clicked escape on the Phoenix, but that Adept looked to have shaded out of a Graviton Beam lift. Is that right? I might gift that and ask Twitter about that one. That doesn't sound like it should. Because I can't think of anything else that escapes a Phoenix lift. And obviously you might be like, what does it matter? The other player's not a Protoss player. But in PvP, not that it ever happens, but like Phoenix versus some Adept harassment, right? Anyways, that temporary freakout aside, Oracle doesn't get too much of the stasis trap. Adept's still trying to do something, even though they are initially caught in the main middle of the map. Natural not going to be a choice there with just enough units to stop him. He did commit a little bit extra. Oh, Pylon's going to go down. A little bit extra to these Adepts, so not as many sentries, not nearly as quickly either. And the Adepts so far haven't really found a lot to do, but they have survived, so it's like one of those maybe just by being there type things, they're doing an okay job. Ooh, that Robo is dangerously close to being fully contained, but the Immortal does pop out. Charge +1 on the way, lots of gateways as well. Rogue is going to initiate an attack here with a bunch of roaches. Roach speed should finish as the attack commences, and he will be following up into Swarm Hosts, but yeah, with the Archon tracing it, with an Immortal available, and just Defender's advantage, and Rogue wasn't really committing to it anyways, so that makes sense to pull back. And this makes sense for Astrea to find opportunity finally for the Adept to do something, but a Spinecrawler is done. And the drone pull into the Spinecrawler is already deterring lots of damage that otherwise I thought he was going to do a lot, actually. I think maybe if he had gone after the drones, but the Spinecrawler being there was a surprise to me, a surprise to Astrea, and certainly helps. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. This is the damage I thought was going to happen. Is it just me, or did they change the font of the Workers Lost? I feel like it was different 3 months ago. Anyways. Shades out of a Graviton Beam and Unit Tester. Is it supposed to? Is that a bug? I don't even know. Maybe this was discovered years ago and I just missed the memo. Anyways, Astrea doing a pretty powerful attack. He's got +1. He's got a decent number of gateways. He delayed his third gases, and he is hitting as the Swarm Host pop. And this means the Locust will be available for the defense, but if he can run away from them successfully and then come back, it'd still be a good attack. With the Swarm Host, I'm afraid Astrea's not going to find what he wants exactly, but you know what? Rogue not even bothering to use the Swarm Host right now. Down until he absolutely has to, I suppose. Goes about, not going to hit very much. Actually pops the shield of the Immortal. That's always nice, but doesn't reach back to the War Prism. Locust not going to be using the defense, and I think that's a mistake. I realize that the Protoss Army can just escape from it. That's a lot of time bought, and it's, you know, they usually grab at least 1 or 2 units before the units run away. But using it offensively in this situation seems awfully dangerous, but Rogue, confident his Roach Ravager army will hold. Maybe a little overconfidence. He's going to try and micro his best against the charges, and that's working out okay, but still a lot of units that pack a punch behind them. War Prism, the main, is going to be probably taken care of. Locust go right after the Nexus. Okay, guys, stop it. Oh, I was wrong. I went after probes. It's like that looked like it was going to go after the Nexus, but goes after the pylons. Depowers 4 gateways. Attack in the middle. No, just Overlords. Just Overlords. Most of the army was drawn back actually for that War Prism, so a very effective War Prism. There's some going to be cleaned up over here. Nice from to the right side. Not going to be discovered, but Astrea, he's on top of things. He knows where they will likely be, left and right. Continuing to chrono out that +2 for probably a follow-up attack, I would guess. Oh, he does. Some Zealots going along with that probe. Queens are here to transfuse. He could use some of the Locusts. This seems a little unideal for a Rogue. Oh, no, okay, here comes the rest of the army, but now the army's out of place, and there's a couple of charge lots coming into the left side. Only a single Spinecrawler to defend. Knights from the left side does get up and running, and could go after the Nexus this time. War Prism back in the main base is going to do some serious damage, actually. Repositions because of the Spore Crawler. Good reposition there. The 4 Zealots are already doing a lot of damage. The Zealots over here doing a lot more damage. And Rogue, not able to handle this. He was looking totally to be on the offensive and to be blindsided twice at the same time. Has really ruined his plans here, but then a Knight from the main base. Oh, that's so cheeky. Oh, that's so gross. So gross. Charlotte's gonna go after the Nidus Worm a bit zealously. Oh, up some limits. But they did a lot of damage to the drone line. Really nicely done. This is how Astrea was doing so well in his other PvZs, too. Well, the Locust can go after literally everything now that no time was spent in the air, basically. So Pylons go down, Templar Archives goes down, Nexus goes down, Forge might even be able to go down. Rogue isn't actually, like, focus firing on very much. Gases go down. Stargate goes down, the Pylon goes down. That's so many structures to lose. Good God. Astrea continuing with the run-bys, though. His army supply not looking so hot, but it is a better army supply than that of Rogue. Now, Rogue has some decent upgrades with +2 finishing for the defense, but his Swarm Host, if they're going to be on the offensive, they're going to be on cooldown. That's like a significant part of the army supply that's not actually available. And oh my god, the Night Swarm's actually taken down here! Wait, where's the Swarm Hosts? Okay, they popped. They're okay. I was like, oh no, it's going to be an instant depletion of like 40 supply. Not quite, but no more Night Swarms to worry about. Astrea is going up to 3 bases once again with his main outs. The 4th base to the right side is his new 3rd or whatever. He's trying to get into disruptors as well, which can certainly make a dent in the armor supply difference. And again, if he can run away from the Locust, that's like how much supply? 30 supply? 40 supply? Not actually a part here. And then Roaches and Ravagers left over would be beat out by an army like this. Astrea needs to pay attention to his army. What is he paying attention to? I don't know. Disruptor is not. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Whoa! Wow. That was super close. That actually would have gotten a decent number of units. The Locust, you get the last final say. Blank has started up. +3 is just stalled out. Oh, they both are stalled out. It means you get a pylon repowering that. He should have better upgrades.
We are being hosted.
Angry SC2, thank you for the 37 viewer host. Oh, nice disruptor shot. Gets Ravagers that time. Night Swarm was rebuilt, it sounds like. Yeah, it do. Yeah, alright then. And Locusts are going to go for that main base once again. Could just cancel the main base. I think that's not the worst thing here. I think the worst thing is that these still aren't powered, and he took a very long time to replace his Templar Archives. And actually, you know what? Losing the production would also be pretty bad, which is what Locusts are currently going for. But Locust now no longer available for the defense. Good force field. Disruptor's also available. This one on cooldown. No. Could go for a beautiful shot. If Astrea is paying attention, he's holding it. He's waiting, being very patient. He wants Rogue to overcommit. Oh, is that it? Good split from Rogue, though. He off-races Terran in his spare time. Good pickup on the 2 Archons that are very, very weak. And second Disruptor comes forward to save the day. Stops the chase. Good retreat from Astrea, who initially, like, I mean, just a minute ago was looking down in the dumps overall supply-wise, but has caught up, has got his mining back up, and has kept Rogue off 4 bases for a very long time and on a low drone count for a very long time. Like, Rogue might have been an okay supply, but with a very low economy, couldn't replace it if it were lost, and now it's been lost. Night Swarm once again goes down. Swarm Hosts are not, and oh my god, the Disruptors are gonna get beautiful shots! At least one does. Okay. That one Disruptor shot was beautiful, but then there was a bunch of Roaches tackling Archon Immortals as well, so that explains most of the bloodied bodies. And the Swarm Hosts couldn't come back to save the day. They used their Locust Waves very wrong. Very poorly. It's not even going to reach that 3rd base, and Astrea with a bit of a comeback here. Doing an excellent job harassing the Swarm Host player. This is what Swarm Host players have gotten so much better against defending, though, and it's a big reason why I think Swarm Host came back. Amongst other reasons, and amongst people just kind of re-identifying that Nidus from Swarm Host was a good combo. But there was once upon a time where this was also popular a couple years ago, 4 years ago, whatever. Towards more the beginning, Legacy of the Void. And it kind of fell off. Well, Protoss players were actually doing a decent job finding the holes in their defenses, the Zerg's defenses. But then Zergs were like, you know what? What if I don't have any holes in my defense? What if I'm just perfect on the defense? Then what do you do? And that's the conundrum we generally have, is those early Swarm Hosts hitting so early that the Protoss player can't really afford to do what Astrea did. In this case, they were not the fastest Swarm Hosts. We saw Solo go for a lot of, like, sub 6-minute Swarm Hosts, infestation bit rather, and it was just enough economy for Astrea to do some really sick run-bys, pretty much throwing the momentum in his favor, or at least even, and the rest of the game has been played out quite well. Disruptor's gonna go for an amazing shot. That one doesn't find it. This one gets an okay one. Probes have gone down, but so many armies have gone down as well. Tunneling Claws finished up. You know, I saw that, and then I just, like, completely blanked. And I was like, that's not a big deal, but it is. It's actually a very unique thing as well. You wouldn't usually see that. Good Disruptor shot coming in from right side. And that is going to be able to escape as well. Good Archon management as well. I mean, he's making his Archons last as long as possible. Those could have been the original ones saved back here by the War Prism. Speaking of, the War Prism tries to go back into the main base. Gonna fail in that regard, but Zealot's finding the 3rd base of Rogue, as Rogue is just completely out of cash. And he was low on gas, but now he's low on minerals as well. Disruptor from left side getting a juicy shot, and that is going to be it. Disruptors, terrible to play against when they kill 30 supply. Awesome to watch when doing the supply. Getting the supply, whatever. GG. So on to game number 3 on World of Sleepers. Fear Dragon made the finals of a Masters tournament? Oh man, I wish I could watch. God. That would have been such a cool feature to have in StarCraft 2 for the last 10 years. Oh well, we can only expect so much, alright? We should really be quite thankful for what we have, considering what looks to be a downward spiral for Overwatch League, although many would disagree, and what looks to be a just a fact, a downward spiral of Blizzard. At least StarCraft comes out untouched. We don't have to go to YouTube Gaming. We don't have the severe pressure to perform as the world's #1 esport, to appeal to tens of millions of dollars of investment. And we no longer have Blizzard's general incompetence. Now I'm talking the higher ups not hiring enough people to be able even to do physically their job. That incompetence. We don't really have to deal with that anymore. Because there really weren't a lot of people working for the Blizzard StarCraft 2 esports side of things, and they were making things work with very little resources, very few resources. So nothing but kudos and love to them, but good God. Good God, were they overworked. So it's cool to be a part of ESL. Now, I don't know as much about ESL's, behind closed doors things, but I think even with the recent CSGO drama that happened, I trust them far, far more. To form a StarCraft 2 tournament over 10K, you don't need permission anymore. That was always a bit of a loosey-goosey rule anyways. I think people who were making the calls on that were just, they were like, you know what, we're just glad you're doing a tournament. But yeah, I think they officially took away that requirement. Because even if it wasn't being followed through in many regards, because I'm thinking I think Joe said she's a Delphi didn't have to do that. But anyways, still, as far as legality goes, you want to actually go ahead and just nip that and take it out of the contract, right? Because then you have a lot of very big tournament organizers suddenly interested in StarCraft again if they don't have to deal with Blizzard at all, and that is a hard truth. Personally, I'm hoping Red Bull gets interested again. Red Bull just tweeted a picture of Warcraft saying, wouldn't it be cool to have tournaments of this? And if they're doing Warcraft, hopefully it means they're open to doing StarCraft. They just maybe didn't like working with Blizzard so much. Especially back in the day. The last time they worked with Blizzard was the Archon tournament in 2015. Anyways, Overlord Speed actually in his EVP. Interesting. Need to fix Warcraft first? Yeah, they do. Yeah, I'd be curious to see if any tournament, because Anaheim's definitely happening. Red Bull was a tease, and I think if Red Bull teases something like that, that means they are going to do it personally, but that's not 100%. But Anaheim is literally happening. Same weekend as Katowice, actually. Kind of unfortunately, too, because I think some of the StarCraft 2 guys would have loved to do Warcraft 3 as well. Roddy and Todd and DeMuslim. But anyways. And what are they going to do? Are they going to use Reforged in its current, not its current state, obviously, but they have less than a month to fix a lot of really bad things about it. I guess as far as an esport goes, it might be good to go, as long as you can make a custom lobby and get players in. Hopefully they'll fix any drops with that. But there's so many other things that are pretty bad about it. We'll see. We'll see. So we had a bit of a different opener here from Astrea. He does go for the 330 gases once again, but adding in a stalker. That is the change. Instead of a second or third adept, it is a stalker. I'm just very curious as to why that is. I think the most obvious thing about a stalker, before anyone calls me out on this, is that you can kill an overlord that's scouting, a slow overlord that is. Rogue in this game just coincidentally did not go for slow overlords. He actually invested into that overlord's speed. But if you're gonna do a lot of Protoss players, a lot of builds, and what we saw from Astrea in the Lima League was that he didn't care if he was scouted, even by a slow overlord. Because what he's doing is kind of typical anyways. And if there was something atypical, if there was a question as to whether it was a fast third, or gases, or a follow-up Archon drop, that's where the Phoenix can also kill things, instead of investing into a stalker. So I'm just like, you know, I'm gonna write that in my little notepad here to ask a Protoss player about it. I believe it was the nail in the coffin. Yeah, kind of. There might be like a better analogy for that, but yeah. Yeah. The moment can't make custom games, I would assume they'd fix that before any tournament happens. But you know what? Like, I am of the opinion that they were very gung-ho about it, and they had the promise of resources 2-3 years ago when it was first, you know, thrown around. And then over time, it just became more business interfering. And I think in the last 6 months, it became very evident that they just didn't have a lot of care about it for one reason or another. And that's why its launch was also just the opposite of hyped up. It's a good thing it wasn't, because it sucked. But it also just, like, the game's not hyped up by a publisher like Blizzard. Like, there's maybe something happening behind the scenes. I would love to say that they would fix it. That would be their first on the list to fix. But keeping that, what I just said in mind, maybe they don't. Maybe DreamHack is going to be, you know, is going to have to use the old Warcraft. Which wouldn't be the most terrible thing. No, it actually would be kind of terrible, because the resolution would be really, really bad. Well, we'll see, man. We're going to find out in less than 4 weeks. Observer actually gets sniped. Doesn't usually happen, but it's also a bit bold to put the Observer out in the middle of the map like that, especially if you have the Oracle, which he does still have alive. I've been talking too much about the game, but it was a pretty typical follow-up to the Council Forge, Robo pumping out the Immortals, grabbing his gases actually as well, and going into Templar Archives. It is up against Lurkers once again, so similar to the first game. Rogue, not that he's at all bad with Swarm Host Nidus. In fact, he was one of the, I want to say one of the first abusers of it. Not, you know, 6 months ago, 4 months ago, but rather 2 years ago. But anyways, it did not work in the second game, and perhaps not favoring it for World of Sleepers, or just not wanting to do it again. Lurkers did win him that first game. Kind of a cheeky Overlord drop. Does get a supply block. Runs right into the rest of the army. Didn't you get offer any offline ESL events this year? I think I'll get at least like 1 or 2, just because I think like I'm one of the casters that's a like, hey, who's available type thing. But as for which ones or how many, I have no idea. +2 is on the way, but Astrea is still going to be pushing out, looking to clear up some creep spread and force Rogue to make some type of commitment to units. Not that Rogue is like still making economy. 78 workers, 4 bases for a little while now. But certainly keep that pressure on. Get a pseudo-contain as much as you can in a PvZ. And try and control the flow of things so you get a 4th base back at home, which is what exactly Astrea is doing. It sometimes doesn't look like a whole lot, especially when you look at the hard, cold facts, numbers-wise. Like, it did not stop Rogue from getting to drones, or getting to a hive, or getting to lurkers. But it still is a good thing about tempo, momentum. Map control is not just the opportunity to get drops to kill bases, but is also the opportunity to get some scouting and control for other things, such as grabbing your expansion. If you have control of the map, you can grab an expansion easier. Disruptor is once again going to be the choice. Astrea is still looking to take advantage of this choke on World of Sleepers. He can always try and escape at the last second. through the middle with force fields. So it's a smart play, as long as you're confident you can do that. And Astrea has been showing some very confident PvZ, and actually I'll touch on that in a second. Nexus is not going to go down. It's going to the shield battery here to repair it, so a bit of a waste of lings there. Ooh, lurker drops. Oh, those are brutal. So Astrea has been showing some very confident PvZ, and I want to touch on that because I think it's kind of a very vague word to use, but it kind of fits the bill. A lot of the time we see some upcoming, in my opinion, especially Protoss players, when they're up and coming, when they come from the NA region as well, seems to be kind of similar amongst a lot of the guys coming from the NA region. Similar trait, anyways. You see like some, just like they're not confident, you know? Like they're scared, they stay at home all the time. When there's blood in the water, they say no thank you. And it cost them a few games where they actually did have a lead, which is very like different than I think the young up-and-coming Terrans who often who are way overconfident and like make really rash decisions. So I'm really appreciating seeing Astrea, I guess, mature as a player, and certainly being in Korea has probably helped that. This was an absolute massacre. Drogue very underdefended on the left side. Even without the disruptors, just blowing through a handful of lurkers, all the spine crawlers. And now the disruptors are here to try and take on the disruptors in lieu of the Immortals or Archons getting a concave, but actually both are happening. 2, 3 lurkers go down, and the army concave to the left side is quite good. Lurkers burrow in the main base, but even if they do some damage, if this meant that he won the army fight straight up, then it would never be enough. Even if they got all of the probes, which they are not doing right now. 2 lurkers in the main, 2 lurkers at the potential 5th, it looks like. And meanwhile, the army fight is going really well for Astrea. I know Rogue has some more units somewhere. They're rallying in now, and there are a lot of lurkers just obviously not able to reposition quite yet. But that was a very good push. Lurkers, ooh, nice choice. Going for the 4th base probes. A lot of depowering went on in the main base. Blink not going to be researching. I think he did snipe that +3 forge, which hopefully Astrea remembers to put down, not just for +3, but also for cannons, as that can still be very helpful now that you know they're going to do lurker drops especially. Rogue might have lost the 3rd base and 15 drones, but he is still on 4 bases, 69 drones, heh heh. And he has a composition that is probably one of the better comeback compositions for Zerg. Well, actually, I'll take that back. Even against Protoss, Banelings are still pretty good at comebacks. You don't pay attention for 1 second, Banelings get us around. Yeah. But for lurkers, they kind of add that TVT thing. The siege tank thing, or even if you're like hands down you're winning, no argument you're winning. If they got 10 tanks, you're not breaking that line. Kind of same thing with lurkers. If you can save your army and not have to replace it, then you don't need that big of an economy, which is the exact opposite of what Zerg, you know, as a race is stereotyped as. But yeah. It's going to be up to the disruptors to really do the damage here. And oh, they're already finding some juicy shots. And we have 7 disruptors. That's a nice number to have. Astrea, I don't think, had full vision of where every unit was. He could have gotten a big pack of lurkers here if he knew. But he tried to get what he could, and it was still pretty good. Still pretty good. Oh, big surround on those lings. Actually getting on top of the disruptors, forcing them to try and use their attacks on his own army. That turns so bad, so fast. Let's actually rewind and check that out. Yeah, there are... Wait, no, is that burrow speed? That is burrow speed, isn't it? Oh, he got burrow speed first, I guess because he saw disruptors. I did not quite think about that choice, but that is a unique... take on things. Interesting. Okay. Makes sense though. Makes sense because now you can dodge the disruptor shots. All right, so here's what happens. He goes in. He thinks he has the kill, so he moves forward. Didn't realize that lurkers are going to be able to surround him. He didn't realize that I think what kind of happened there is that he didn't realize lings would be such a problem either. So yeah, he distracts the army. Thinks that's the opening. You know, he's very good at distracting. Oh, that's a serious commitment too with Archons. And instead of the lurkers, okay, he kind of just like there. I was like, where did they come from? Lurkers on the top side are pretty good. He does get some pretty nice shots on the lings. There's just so many of them. And he had pushed so far in without actually clearing lurkers. Like, the lurker count is not that impressive, but their concave is. So that not only means that they aren't being targeted down very quickly, it also means that with their shot type in a straight line, they're actually getting the maximum amount of damage possible. As speaking of confidence, you can still have overconfidence, and I think that's what happened there. Thought he pulled more of the army away, but it turns out that Rogue made the right choice by defending first, because his little attack actually did not end up doing very much. I think he pulled it back when he thought he had distracted the army, when maybe committing with it would have been the better choice. Now, that's not the end of the game. That was pretty damn nasty, especially because his disruptor count was so convincing. But, oh, my bad. My bad. I thought he lost a lot of disruptors, but he just had a lot to begin with. He was cranking them out even past 7 when I noted it, so maybe he had like 3 on the backside and then cranked out 3 more while that went on. So 6 is still a pretty damn good number, actually. And he did replace his forge, but in fact went for double forge. So you can have some armor upgrades on the way. And he was on 5 bases the entire time, even with the lurker harassment. Lurkers try and defend their base, but no cancel. And unfortunately not quite killing all these zealots as they head into a juicy, ripe, undefended 5th, 4th, whatever it is. That's going to be a lot of drones killed. Not quite +3 zealots, but still good enough against drones, right? 6th base is going to be up and running with a lot of stag defense. Rogue unable to really get much on the other side of the map since those lurker drops, and now having a tough time dealing with disruptors, although oopsie daisy, going around the corner like that lined them up, so loses like 2 or 3 right off the bat. Double warp prism? Whoa, man. Whoa, calm down. You can only be so cool, Astrea. Although it's not really cool to put them all at once. I take it back. He went from having a slicked back hair and a cool jacket to putting on glasses and growing buck teeth. Sorry, bro. Oh, a Spire finally on the way. It's been a pretty action-packed game, so I didn't think of a Spire. Rogue didn't think he could get to a greater Spire. Makes sense, but Broodlords would be quite helpful against disruptors that cannot shoot up. But look how many damn Archons there are. They are just surviving through the lurker shots, and that's a bold move right there. That's a bold move, Cotton, with the cotton balls, because eventually lurkers will crush through their shields. It is just going to happen. As cool as they looked for a second. Disruptors try to get some juicy shots. Didn't really happen. This Rogue at 17 lurkers, still with a very strong, quote-unquote, tank line. Siege line, I guess, is a better way of putting it. I do think Astrea should have gone for shields first. Hindsight 2020 type thing. He maybe didn't think he would have so many Archons. Good dodging here from Rogue until that. But now that he's fully upgraded on his attack, then yeah, sure, go ahead, get both armor upgrades. Ooh, some Vipers on the way. Abducting the Disruptors does... It pretty much guarantees they'll die fast enough that their shot won't make it. So that's always nice. Zealots taking a ton of damage. I mean, this is a really good concave of lurkers. Again, maximizing the amount of damage that they can do. Good use of the high ground here. It's the second time we've seen that. Rogue excellent with his siege units and just using these units to hold on and try and get to Greater Spire. If he can get to a Greater Spire, he will be countering this ground army. Archons are not supposed to be able to get into those Broodlords, even though it does occasionally happen. Good disruptor shot there. Oh, takes out the observers. Skedaddle! Get out of there. One live. One is alive. Okay. Lurkers on the backside of this 5th base. It's always going to be an annoyance. They also are, as I said, a little tanky, so they can even try and run up to a couple cannons. Not this many cannons, of course, so the backside is a lot better of an idea. And a single lurker takes out that would-be 6th as well. Astrea is still banking quite a lot. They haven't had too many complete army engagements where they both lose out on a lot since the middle, basically. But Astrea had a very strong economy during that and after that. Now it's going to be a little more questionable, so if they fight again, it'd be harder to excuse it. But finally cleans up this 5th base and should grab a 6th. In fact, Astrea should even try to double expand. Rogue would know about it, but it's not really in Rogue's place right now with the composition he has to be the aggressor or harasser. It's nice when he can. It's nice they got those lurkers down, but he can't really move forward. If he moves forward, that's when Astrea can get a concave and take a good fight. Disruptor's killing Mill and Archons. And if he moves forward, he was out of position, then that might also mean Astrea finds an opportunity with some zealots, some something on the left and right. Astrea is more focused on this main army fight and also getting up to that Stargate. I think he realizes, like, it's been long enough without big trades. I'm not winning this game. I have to think about the future. He's gonna get to those carriers. But are they a bit too late? With the lurkers now moving forward, it's an opportunity for, like, trying to go by the right side, right? Trying to go to the left side, trying to just circumvent the army, which is what I was talking about. But it might also turn into a base race. So many lurkers. Good God, 25 lurkers. Jesus. And certainly if lurkers are able to burrow, then they are going to be very difficult to take on. And with the burrow speed, I guess so they really are quite good at repositioning now, aren't they? Before that upgrade existed, which I think it existed actually the entire time. Oh my god, oh my god, oh god. If the concave was a bit better there, that might have been an okay trade with the lurkers, but all the Protoss army would have died, guaranteed. No matter what. No matter what. Zealot's gonna jump on top of these lurkers and then not have vision! Oh no! Astrea starting to really lose out here. Rogue taking an aggressive stance. Was a bit bold. Astrea could have maybe gotten this base and then evacuated base for base. Would not have been so bad, but not evacuating, getting his entire army taken down. I don't know about that. Viper's going to be great here as well for taking care of the initial carrier counts. The Hydra count might not be amazing, but it's certainly solid. And he can take on 3 or 4 carriers, especially Babby carriers. They don't have any interceptors. One disruptor shot's going to be beautiful. Gets a ton of Hydras right there. That helps the disruptors, the carriers' cause. But not if the carriers are all depowered. 1 carrier, 2 carriers pop out. 3rd one just a second away from finishing. But Astrea is getting he's getting camped. He's getting his production camped. He's a Terran right now. He's trying to do whatever he can to keep Rogue on 4 bases, at least make it so he can't remax, and that was the weakness I was talking about. But he lost too much of his army. He wanted to buy more time, wanted to get to 8 carriers. If he's at 8 carriers right now, it's absolutely his game. Well, Rogue actually has quite a big bank, but it's a game if he had 8 carriers. It's still a pretty good game for him, actually. But now that his production has been camped, his carriers are going to die here. I don't think Astrea is going to have the production. And he's actually even running out of minerals and gas. So, you know, great run buys now, but just a bit too late. All the Hydras have been remade, and he will take care of an army of this size. Ugh, so painful on that bottom engagement. Disruptor is still trying to hold on to hope here. 1 more shot will grab 3 lurkers, and that'd be a nice trade. There's still 10 more lurkers besides that, though, and Astrea realizes he has to tap out. GG. Kind of a hard loss there, because he probably felt very in control, if not literally about to win the game at multiple points. Ends up having to die to that pseudo base trade.